Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to introduce you to the unit circle. The unit circle is a wonderful, wonderful tool that we use for many things in mathematics. And let us introduce to it. First thing I want to talk about are the quadrant numbers. It just doesn't deal with the circle, but this is the first quadrant, and we show it with Roman numerals. And we start here. This is the first quadrant you ever learned as a child. And then we go in a counterclockwise direction. That's the second quadrant, the third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. That's how we name our quadrants. That one's done. In a unit circle, unit refers to 1. It means this radius is 1. So that point there is 1, 0. This point here is 0, 1. This point is -1, 0. And this point here is 0, -1. And every radius has a length of 1, no matter where I put it. Okay, there's my radius. Angles defined within a unit circle. Well, this is different from bearings. What this is about, we start on the positive x-axis. This is 0, and when I go in this direction, those are positive angles. And so if I want to show something like 45 degrees, I start here and I go up somewhere around here, and this is a 45-degree angle. If I want to do something like 120 degrees, well, I start from here and I go 120 degrees here, roughly around here, and that will be 120 degrees. And so I can find lots of different angles. If I want to do, let's say, 200 degrees, well, I start here always, and I go around to here is 180, and a little bit further to here is going to be 20 degrees, and this is 180, and so in total I have 200 degrees. And so that's how this works. Now that's going this direction is positive. If I go in this direction, I have negative angles. So if I wanted to say negative 80 degrees, well, that starts here as well, and it goes in this direction to about here. And there's where the 80 degrees would be in the negative direction. So positive and negative angles refer to the direction you go around the circle. Now, one of the cool things also you can do with circles and angles is I know, well, let me talk about the angles of the axes first. So I know this then is 0 degrees. And when I go to here, which is perpendicular, this is 90 degrees. And then a straight line here is 180 degrees. If I go here, that is 270 degrees. Finally, to here is 360 degrees. And you should know those four fairly well. But I can keep on going around. If I go to here, I go 360 plus my 90, which ends up being 450. I can go even further here. This will be 540, and so on, and so on. That will be 720. And so I can keep on going forever and ever and ever in both directions. And so that's an important idea with negative angles and angles of the axes. And then the coordinates of the axes I already showed here. And that's how the unit circle works. We always go starting from the 0 line, the positive x-axis. We can find all our angles within there. And that is what we do. Okay, so there is your unit circle. The coordinates 1 and 0, 0, 1, and so on. Okay, let's then talk about, the one thing I'm going to say, when I draw an angle like 120 degrees, I draw it and I put the arm on, and then I can always draw a right triangle to the x-axis. So if I'm going to go, let's say 300 degrees, I can go around 300 degrees, and then I can draw a right triangle to the x-axis. That's a good habit to get into. Okay, so number 1 says, given the sketch of 120 degrees in the unit circle, so here's 120 degrees, write down the quadrant. So this quadrant is the second quadrant. And we're going to write down the reference angle. Well, what the reference angle is always a positive and acute angle made with the x-axis. So that's why I always say draw this perpendicular line down. And so this angle is my reference angle. I know the whole value is 180. And so if I subtract 180 from 120, this is 60 degrees is what the reference angle is. That's what the reference angle is. And that is a really, really important idea to get the reference angle. Okay, so now for the following angle, sketch the unit circle, write down the quadrant and determine the reference angle. So here's this, and it doesn't have to be really super sketch. I know 180, 270, so 215 is somewhere in the middle here. So I'm going to draw my angle here. So this is 215. My reference angle fits right in here. And that angle value is, if I go 215 minus 180, I get equal to 35 degrees is my reference angle. That's the reference angle, 35. And the quadrant is number 3. Okay, going to the next one. Draw my circle. I know it's going to be, here is 270. That's 360, so somewhere here to the x-axis. So I am in the 4th quadrant, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if this is 305, this angle is 360 minus 305, which is going to be 55 degrees in here. So my reference angle, is equal to 55 degrees. Okay, and then finally 400. Well, I know here is 360, and if I go a little bit further, I hit 400. And so there's 400. It's in the 1st quadrant, and this angle is 40, because 360 plus 40 is 400. So my reference angle equals 40. Let's try another example here. Given the information that the angle is in the 2nd quadrant, okay, let me do this. It's in the 2nd quadrant with a reference angle of 30. So that means to the x-axis, this angle here is 30 degrees. It's in the 2nd quadrant. And I know I'm on my circle. Name 2 positive angles. Well, here's one positive angle. If I call this theta, theta could be, well, 180 minus 30 is 150 degrees. A second positive angle, well, if I go, here's 180, 270, 360, all the way over to here. So if I go 360 plus 150, so I go plus 360, we'll give you 0, 1. I will get 510 degrees is my second positive angle. Now, to do the negative angle, that means I'm going to go in this direction to here. As soon as I hit here, up to here is negative 180, and I go negative 30 more, which is negative 210, because 180 plus 30 is 210. So here are my 3 angles that satisfy, that have this terminal arm in this position with a reference angle of 30 degrees in the 2nd quadrant. There's your introduction to unit circle.